What's going on, guys? Thank you for tuning in. So we have an undisputed matchup at 140 pounds tomorrow between Josh Taylor and Jose Ramirez. Fantastic fight. Definition of a 50-50 fight. I've been teetering back and forth on who I believe is going to win this fight ever since it was announced. I mean, 1 minute I think Ramirez is going to edge it out. I think he's probably going to end up just like, it's going to be like a really close competitive fight. And then I just think like Ramirez's tenacity and just that aura he brings, that Mexican pride, just that extra spark, that extra gear that he might have over Taylor is going to prevail. And then on the other hand, I think, Josh Taylor to me is clearly the better technical fighter. He's more of a chess player, picks his shots better. He's a little bigger, probably a little faster, So it's just a great matchup, It could also go. I could also clearly see this fight going either which way, any way possible. I could see Taylor by KO. I could see Ramirez by KO. I could see both guys in a wide decision. I could see both guys in a close decision. I could see a draw. That's how good this matchup really is. And Taylor, what I think Taylor needs to do is probably just stay at mid-range on the outside, keep a jab in Ramirez's face the entire fight, pick his shots nicely. Don't get into too much of a firefight. Like, you have to, with a fighter like Ramirez, you have to make him respect you. You have to put hands on him. You can't allow him to just back you up into the ropes, cut the ring off, and just beat the crap out of you, because that's what Ramirez is going to try to do. And I think Josh Taylor does have enough grit in him to keep Ramirez off of him to an extent. But I think much of this fight hinges on what Josh Taylor decides to do, right? If he decides to box on the outside, mixed in with a little bit of aggression, in spots, I think that's probably the best game plan that he could possibly have. If he decides to just straight up bang with Ramirez and get into a firefight, I think he's going to get his ass whooped. It might not happen right away. It's going to be really fun to watch if that's what does happen. And it will be competitive for a period of time. I just think down the stretch, Ramirez is just such a tenacious fighter. It's just that's what he does best. I think Taylor is better with a technical approach. We saw that against Regis Prograis. He really picked his shots beautifully. And in my opinion, I know styles make fights and all, but I think Prograis overall is a better fighter than Ramirez. These are the kind of things that we're going to find out tomorrow night. Maybe that'll prove to be wrong. I'll prove to be wrong on that. And Ramirez this will essentially be like a big coming out party, and he'll become a superstar. We never know. You never know in the sport of boxing, but from what I see, Ramirez is somewhat of a basic, he's got a hell of a left hook, but he's kind of a basic mauler, brawler type of fighter, I guess. I don't like categorizing guys because everyone has their own perspective on how somebody fights, but that's just kind of how I see it. Taylor is just overall more dynamic. Taylor's one of those guys that does everything well, but doesn't really do anything spectacular. So my logic kind of tells me that Taylor wins this fight in a close decision just by outpointing Ramirez, but I don't know, my gut is kind of telling me that somehow Ramirez is going to pull this fight off. Like, Ramirez is somehow just going to dog Taylor and just drag him into the later rounds and then end up really just taking over, shifting into that second, third gear. Just get to this gear that Taylor doesn't have, and just basically outwork him. Also to a decision. I think this fight's going to a decision. I don't see a knockout in this fight. However, like I said earlier, I wouldn't be surprised if it ended in a knockout either which way, because both these guys are very capable of knocking the other guy out, in my opinion. So, anyway, I'm going to take Ramirez by a close decision, but I'm very tentative in doing that. I don't know, because again, like I was saying earlier as well, I keep teetering back and forth on who I think is going to actually win this fight. I really don't know. Definition of a 50-50 fight. Fantastic matchup. Let me know what you guys think, and until the next one.